Hey guys, I'm here with Melinda Marcus. She's an expert in the science of influence, and we've been talking all morning on how to get strangers to say yes and how to get a raise. So Melinda, let's talk real quick about how to get somebody to say yes and increase their chances of saying yes to you.
Well, what's interesting is people are more likely to say yes just by you asking, because socially it's just so awkward to say no. But there are things that have been proven in the science of influence that increases that dramatically. For example, you can triple your results just by asking for something really big first that they're going to say no to. And your best chance to get a yes is right after they say no, if you ask for something that's lesser.
Okay, so give us a quick example. Like, let's say I need to use somebody's cell phone.
Okay, so if you just walked up to somebody and asked for their cell phone, 1 or 2 people are going to say yes.
About 50%.
Yeah, 50%. However, if you first go up and say, hey, my car broke down, can you give me a ride? It's 20 miles away. I need a ride home.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no to that.
And almost everybody will say no, right?
Especially if it's a stranger, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. But if right after you say no, I say, oh, if you can't do that, can I just borrow your cell phone?
I'd say yes after that.
And very much it's the case that people will say yes. And in fact, it's often triple the times that you'll get a yes versus a no if you've just asked them a big thing and then you retreat to something smaller.
Some really good advice. Now, you also talked about a trigger word, some trigger words that people can do to increase your chances. What's the trigger word that you were talking about?
So, first of all, what a trigger word is, it's a word that works on the unconscious and says, you should give this consideration. It's a really good reason. And the one I used as an example is the word because. So when they did a study of people waiting in line to use a copier machine, and someone just asked if they could break in line, about 60% of the time they said, okay, that's just random. That's people not feeling comfortable saying no. Mm-hmm. But when they went in and said, hey, can I break in line because I'm in a hurry?
People said yes.
94% of the people
94%. Wow.
said yes. So that's a good reason. And they wanted to test, well, does the trigger word itself have power? So they had the person give no reason. They just went in and said, hey, Nia, can I break in line because I need to make a copy?
Well, so does everybody else.
Exactly. So it's not a real reason, yet 93% of the time people will say yes. Only 1% difference between a real reason and no reason.
Wow.
Just by using the word because.
Now, we were also chatting about how to get a raise at work and body language. So talk to us about some of the body language tips that you were giving us.
Well, one thing is you should always do it in person. You have a much higher chance of getting a yes if you have a chance to discuss it, right?
And we can actually get up and move this time around.
Oh, great.
I know.
So another thing is rather than us being face-to-face,
okay,
that's more adversarial. Mm-hmm. If I move over here so we're at a 45-degree angle and we're shoulder to shoulder, then the unconscious sees that we're both seeing things from the same way.
Okay.
We're on the same side of this. Mm-hmm. You're much more likely to give me consideration and say a yes, just by that. The other thing is you'll notice as I'm talking to you, I have open hands as I'm talking. Mm-hmm. That creates trust. I'm nodding as you talk.
So I feel like you're agreeing with me.
Exactly.
Wow, these are some really good tips.
Yes. So body language can make a difference. But there's other things.
Yes. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Melinda can be answering your questions live this morning. And I know one of the things that we were really interested in was the Superman pose.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, this happens before you walk in the room.
Okay.
So you want it for about 2 minutes, at least 2 minutes. You want to have what's called assertive poses. And this was a Harvard study done by Dr. Cuddy. And what she found is if you do the Superman pose, which is very assertive, what that does is it makes your brain feel like confident. I can do this.
I feel confident right now.
Do you?
I'm going to go ask my boss for a raise.
So what this does is not only is it a feeling, it actually releases hormones. It releases testosterone, which creates that feeling of confidence, and it lowers the stress hormone, which is called cortisol. And when they did an experiment of people who did assertive poses before their interviews and people who did very insecure poses where they make themselves small in the interviews, the interviewers overwhelmingly chose the people who had done the assertive poses even though they didn't know who was who. Wow. They just felt the confidence.
That's awesome. And the last thing that we covered was how to have more influence just at your workplace, with your coworkers, with your boss. How do you get your top dog to notice you?
Well, One thing is, it's such an advantage if you have somebody who's a top leader in the firm looking out for you. We call that a sponsor, and it's very different than a mentor. A mentor is somebody who in the room with you advises you and all of that, but they may not be influential at your company. When you're talking about a sponsor, it's somebody in the leadership team who, when even you're not in the room and people are talking about who do we give the promotion to, who do we give this next big project to, they advocate for you. And you're much more likely to get promoted up and get great opportunities.
And how do you get someone like that to notice you?
So one way is that if they give a speech either to your company or you just catch it online, then you write them an email to tell them how impressed you were with a specific point that they said. And so few people will follow up with them. They'll notice you and often write back and get to know you.
Wow.
And there's other things you can do, like research if they have a pet project. Maybe it's a nonprofit that they're passionate about. Make an appointment with their secretary saying you want to talk with them about how you can contribute to that project. And I've actually done that with a coaching client, and the CEO of the firm became someone who was her sponsor and looking out for her and helping her get promoted up.
Now, Melinda, if people want to know more information about you, where's your website? Where can they go if they wanted to find?
So you can go to just influenceadvisors.com. And there I actually have blog articles that give even more things about body language and about specific strategies that increase your chances of getting a yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much this morning. And now I'm going to go ask my boss for a raise.